Good evening and welcome to the November 30th special meeting. I'd like to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have Mrs. Harrison, Mrs. Hirschberger, Ms. Ames, myself here, and we have one remote school board member.
Yes, I would like to make a motion to allow Mr. Cutter to participate in remotely and vote remotely.
And we'll do a roll
I'll
call
second.
vote. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
You have to roll call vote.
Roll call. Oh, sorry. All those in favor?
You said it.
Tina?
Aye.
Tara?
Aye.
Heidi?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Andrew? Andrew?
Well, I'll abstain, but
Abstain, thank
guys.
you.
Appreciate it.
Who's taking, no one's taking the notes. All right, 401.
Actually, we have a remote minute taker
Okay.
who is taking care of that.
So
for us.
401, excellent. We are going to begin with community comment on agenda items. Is that you? Yes, please.
So, Madam Chairman, if I may, just for the clarity for the minutes, I'm remote due to COVID-19, and there's nobody in my office with me this evening.
He said he's remote due to COVID-19 and
Okay, that's fine.
nobody is in his office with him.
Wait, I'll turn the volume up for Andrew.
Yeah, that's fine. I didn't know how much we wanted to share. That's fine. Excellent. We have Mr. Norton here.
Yes, Jim Norton, Wood Hawkway. Afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Before I start, I know you guys have been through so much crap for the last 3 years, and I don't mean to pile on. But I was at the last meeting, we talked about the budget and cutting our performing arts department again. And unfortunately, the vote did not go the way we had hoped. But now the budget isn't finalized, which we had thought it was gonna be finalized, and there is some money. And we're hoping that you will reconsider and use that money to keep a performing arts person. I said it 2 weeks ago, and I'll say it again. This cut is gonna kill this department. It is on its way up right now. GMS numbers are high. Those are rolling into LMS. Now, they may not be rolling up to CHS yet, but this was a rebuilding time, and I see the rebuilding happening. I had to leave the last meeting. I had to go get my daughter, but someone had asked about why sports keeps getting wrapped up inside of performing arts every time we talk about it. I think it's important to go back in the past, because like I said at the meeting, I've been involved in this for such a long time. But during all the cuts that were happening in the performing arts department, we continued to bring in more sports. So we brought in a football team, we brought in a lacrosse team, we brought in a wrestling team. And by no means do I say we should not have brought those things in, because I am a huge supporter of the sports program as well. It seems to us that they were brought in, and the people that got hurt were the cuts from the performing arts department. So you were cutting performing arts, but yet spending money in sports. So, not that this board did that, but that's what's been done in the past. So that's why it's entangled in that, because every time we get a cut, we see a new sport come on. So we brought in 3 new varsity sports since I've been around and watched the performing arts department get cut. When I was here in August, when we talked and you guys said we were going to start to rebuild the department, I myself was very excited. I know a lot of parents were real excited. Then we saw that the Oz show was coming up. We had a trip to Disney. We had full concerts back in, people in the audience. And so there's a big group of parents, friends of performing arts, plus a lot of other parents that have joined us that just started meeting almost every other week since September, just to try to stay on top of everything that's going on. Because we felt that if the board is committed to rebuilding, we're going to be committed to make sure it can be rebuilt. So we've been meeting every other week. We talk about Oz. We talked about fundraising for Disney. We've talked about the winter concerts. And I'll tell you, these meetings have been extremely exciting. We haven't had this in a couple of years. And to have it again, we were all on board and ready to go. And unfortunately, we had all our meetings on the calendar, and our last meeting was the Thursday after your meeting. So I'll tell you that the wind came out of that room that day, and it wasn't a lot of fun. We just felt like, again, we're not getting supported, and there's just more cuts coming. I've talked to a lot of parents over the last 3 weeks, GMS parents, LMS parents, CHS parents, and it depends on who you talk to, you get the same story. If I'm talking to a GMS parent, they're like, I can't believe they're cutting. If they're cutting, I hope they don't cut Courtney. If I'm talking to a CHS parent, oh, I can't believe they're cutting. If they're cutting, I hope it's not Brittany. If you talk to an LMS parent, it's I hope they're not cutting Nate or Carolyn. So it's connected all through the schools that this cut is going to really hurt not only the kids, but those teachers that they're killing themselves right now just to get this show off the ground. And the one big thing that I don't know if you get it or not, and I don't mean to say that as insulting, but these kids have performing art teachers for their entire time in GMS. And then they move to LMS and they have that same teacher for those 4 years. And when they go to CHS, they have those same teachers again for 4 years. That's how it becomes a family. And when you make this cut, it's really going to hurt these kids a lot. So I really hope you reconsider that and vote to put it back in. That's it. Thank you.
Evening, everybody. Peter Plansky, Gallant Road. A couple of quick questions, I think. I saw something on the agenda today where there's some savings from insurance for the next school year. So my question is kind of twofold. Is that because we're unable to hire paras? Is that part of that savings? And has there any thought been given to using that savings to replenish the trust funds that were exhausted to cover the shortfall?
It's
There's
hard,
one.
we're not supposed to answer questions.
We'll have that discussion.
We can
when
address
we're-
that as part of the
Yep.
conversation, yeah,
Okay, and then there's another item on here about moving over to the fire station,
yes.
and wondering why that would be. Why would we go to the fire station? When this is sort of, since this building's been here, this is where the meetings have been held. And just from watching the CPI or the CIP meeting the other day, it was freezing in there, from what I could tell, and I think you were there, Liz.
I was there.
And your husband brought you your coat or something, so it was like, I don't know that I'd want to be over there. Oh, your husband, sorry. I don't know that I'd want to be over there for, a 3-hour meeting in
I know,
freezing.
this room has can have
Control.
temperature swings too. I think,
It's fixed in the firehouse?
You'd think they'd be able to keep it warm in the firehouse, but,
yeah,
anyway,
right.
so those are just two things I wanted to address.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm going to close community comment unless anyone else has anything to say. Anyone? At this time, we thank everyone who provided the board with comments on tonight's agenda. We now have ended public comment, and the board will conduct its business in view of the public. And now we are going to talk about finalizing fiscal year '24 budget. And BA Taunton will update the board on insurance costs and other things.
Yep, so Doug has been in and out of the meeting, but it looks like he's back at the moment. But Doug, can you hear us okay?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep, we got you, perfect.
Okay, great.
So really, for the
Timmy.
board and for the public,
Yeah.
you can see that we've been doing, Doug has been doing a tremendous amount of work trying to finalize the budget. A couple of things I think the board and public need to keep in mind. It's the first time that Doug has been responsible for developing a $25 million school budget and learning systems new that he inherited on July 1st. And we all know it wasn't the smoothest entry. parachute didn't exactly provide for a smooth landing into Litchfield. So we've been doing a lot of work to understand the systems, understand how we produce answers, and I thought it was critical that the board get one final bite at the budget, based upon the work that Doug's done, working with the full administrative team, of course, but there are some suggested changes tonight that have been emailed to the board. You have a spreadsheet outlining suggested changes. The budget as it currently sits is up 5%, and we believe we can carve another 1% out of it, and we're going to make recommendations to do that this evening. And of course, it'll be up to the board to make motions and to take action on those. We're just offering you suggestions on what has been identified as we've gone into it. So, Doug, that was my softball lead up to you, and I'm gonna now toss it your way and ask you to take it from here.
Mike, I think you cut out there for a little bit on our side. I'm just going to go get a charger for his computer. We'll be right back.
I'm having cold.
All right, can you hear me now?
We got you now, Doug. I just did a softball, I don't know, layup for you. It's yours. So
Okay.
they're ready for you to.
Sorry about that. I was in my car picking up my daughter, and then like Litchfield, my town isn't great with cell phones, so then I lost you guys for about 6 minutes. But she got out earlier than expected, so I'm home now. So wanted to kind of talk through a couple things tonight, one being health and dental. So we started this year with a budget that had a placeholder of 10% increase in health and dental. And as we worked through health and dental, it became clear to everybody it just wasn't very straightforward. A lot of reasons for that was the health holidays, because people weren't going in to get procedures and things like that due to COVID. Overall, the health rates were, the health use was lower. So health companies were giving back money in forms of holidays. So what that did was that brought down everyone's effective rate for the next year. So there's been varying amounts of health holidays, some that were around 200,000, some that were around like 130,000, and then going into next year, I think it's going to be like 20,000. So it's definitely going down as people are kind of going back to the hospitals and for procedures and things like that. So a lot of different reasons. Some mistakes in there as we looked at the reports and got us to recommending that we increase the budget last time at $43,393. That should not have been the case. It should have been a decrease of $82,060 as we went from our placeholder of 10% to what ended up being a 7.44% increase this year. So that's why one of the tabs that I shared with the board had just a lot of information on the health, showing you kind of how we double checked that $82,060 health and dental. The majority of that though was the health, being $80,958 of a decrease from what we originally budgeted for. So the purpose of that tab was to kind of show how we landed at $82,060 of a decrease from the original budget. And then as well as kind of like the journey through some of the major plans there as far as like family plans and 2-person and 1-person as it went from the fiscal year 23 budget, which used fiscal year 22 actual rates with holidays, to our new fiscal year 24 budget, which is using actual rates for fiscal year 24, but with much less of a holiday in it as well. So, yeah, I can walk people through this here.
Madam Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to reduce the budget by $125,453.
For a second.
I'll second. Any of us
seconds.
will, I'm sure.
All those in favor?
Just if I may, so Doug has explained that, and I think it's really important the board understand that literally takes every single existing employee and applies every existing employee's current choice in insurance and assumes that that's where it's going to be next year. It doesn't allow us for somebody who is in a 2-person to go to a family plan because they suddenly have a family next year, right? So, you know, what we're proposing is to cut it very, very tight to the wire based on existing. Now, we know there'll be some attrition. Some people will leave, some people will come in new, insurance is gonna shuffle. But this is as tight as it's ever been, in my experience with the budget, in terms of what we're doing. I still think it's the right thing, but the next item is a suggestion to create space for us to deal with the realities of human beings who work in our schools. And so, you know, voting on the 125 cut is current reality, but we are then gonna ask for some wiggle room. And I just want the board to understand that before you make the vote.
Further discussion?
I would just say, in my mind, those two are linked, right?
too.
Because we're saying we're going to be very tight and we're gonna cut it based off of the current employees and their current insurance selections, understanding the fact that it will be different, and therefore the $50,000 is going to be necessary to have that wiggle room. So we're taking out 125, 453, but then presumably the second motion, to me, is linked, will be to add back in 50,000 to have that pool and buffer there to be able to dip into if needed, or be underspend if necessary too.
And Doug, just if I may, for clarification, I think your intent is to label it as a pool for changes in insurance election by employees, right?
Yeah, that's correct. A majority of the budget goes to salaries and benefits. So, you know, the changing of benefits can change from somebody getting $1,500 back if they don't take insurance, but if they take a family plan, that alone is over a $20,000 change hit to the budget type of thing.
So it would be kind of a new line item in the, I don't believe we've had, I'm sorry, I take that back. What Holly said is years ago, there was a line in the budget that said changes in selection. And it had a pool in it. And in a previous tight budget year, that got eliminated. We can't carry that. And now we've been operating without it. But now we're fine tuning in on this number, but we're asking for the pool back because otherwise, absent a pool, we have to find it somewhere else in the budget. And so they are, in my opinion, also attached, but I didn't want you to vote on one without thinking our way through both. And not that it's a separate vote, it's a separate question. We
It is,
chose to do
yeah.
it that way, but.
Yep.
How was the 50,000 derived?
So it's really just Mike, Holly, and I just kind of talking through, what some of the changes could be. Asking Holly, what have been some numbers they've used in the past. And then just that's how it was derived.
Andrew, I think it's almost equivalent to two worst-case scenarios, which are, I don't have insurance, and now I need a family plan. So if you do that twice, you get to $50,000.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
We have a motion and a second.
So I know the town, maybe Andrew can answer this. I know the town has they were just discussing it at the last selectmen's meeting, that the town has like a, is it a big, earn time payout fund? Do they have something similar to this? Do you know, Andrew? Like a special
I'm
fund?
having a bit of a hard time hearing you.
Andrew, the question is, does
Repeat
the
it.
town have a trust or some other way to cover a change in insurance? Similar to what they have for like vacation buyout if somebody leaves?
Yeah, I don't know. I know there was some conversation about setting something like that up for library costs and that type of thing. I don't know if that's actually been done, so I'm not sure to answer your question.
I don't know, because I can just anticipate that might be a direction that the budget committee might take, if that was something that
Oh,
we
I
would agree
understand the
as a
need
trust
for
fund
it.
for it. Yeah, so you're not budgeting it every year, but.
We have a motion and a second.
Yep.
Are we ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Roll call.
Call.
Oh, gee, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Andrew.
Hold it, so we're not voting on the pool right now, we're still on the
Just the 125
125,
decrease.
453.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Andrew.
Aye.
Tina.
Aye.
Tara.
Aye.
Liz. Aye. Heidi.
Aye.
500. Thank you.
I'll make a motion to establish a $50,000 pool of money that would offset any changes in elected benefits.
A second.
So for discussion, this is obviously important to have. My question would be, is it better suited as a warrant article? Right, so you always have that reserve account set aside and it's not rolling forward from budget year to budget year.
So, a thought on that. If we do it as a warrant and if it fails, then you will have to find that money for anybody who makes the choice. If you make the case that, we've done this level of tight budgeting, we're gonna ask for this year, and then next year we could take any remaining funds in that line and out of fund balance and designate those into a newly created fund. That might be a way to proceed, and then we'll be able to see exactly how did it weather in the first year that we tried it. So,
Say that again?
you add it to the budget,
Right.
designate it, and then next year at this time, how'd it go? What's in there? And we could create the fund at that point out of fund balance. So in June of '24, you could transfer the funds that had been, so you've done it once, and if you haven't used it, you now put it into the fund and save it for the future.
Or we return it to the taxpayers because we don't need it.
And if the taxpayers say no at that point, it would be a return back to them. That's correct. It's a different way, it's a longer game of getting you to the same spot. Or the board could give us direction and say, we want you to
For 1 year?
develop a warrant article this year, but just be aware that,
I see both sides.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I see both sides of it as well. I actually was wondering the same question, Andrew, which is, how do we make this so that it can go from year to year rather than be a yearly expense that's included in the budget? My concern is, it sounds like, well educated, 50,000 is a guess. And so if that amount is too small or too big, we may want to try it this year as part of the budget, see if that ends up being the correct amount or close to the correct amount, and then create the fund for a warrant article even in March of '24 for the '25 year, if that makes sense. Rather than waiting till June of '24, I think we'll have a pretty good idea by March of '24 whether or not the $50,000 is the correct amount.
I don't think we'll know till we hire new people.
That
Well,
will
I
be
get- yeah.
after
Yeah,
that, so
being the
that'll,
new
Most of
school
them,
year,
yeah.
Right.
we'll be 6-7 months into the new school year, and so I think at that point we'll have a better idea of what changes were made.
I don't think it should be a permanent part of the budget unless it is a
They
warrant article.
chose insurances in like August, is that correct?
so there's an open enrollment period
Yeah.
in, actually, I think it's May. It's
Oh,
earlier
May.
than that.
Oh, it's early.
But the
Oh,
problem
okay.
is, it's staff changes that take place
Right.
over the summer. And then even open enrollment doesn't factor in changes in family situations. So,
Life-changing.
Sure.
if somebody,
Has a baby and they
Yeah.
become a family, yeah.
that's, those are always open enrollment scenarios.
Right. They're not locked in for this.
So you're saying this was a strategy that was used previously in Litchfield for budgeting?
According to Holly, it was a budgeted line called changes in employee selection. So I'm selecting to go from a two-person to a family plan. And there was a budget line that allowed, that's gonna cost the district more, and it was budgeted for that. But it was eliminated many years ago, apparently. Predates me.
Yeah, so I think I would be in favor of this being a warrant article, but I'm not sure it should be on for this March.
Out the gate, yeah.
Right.
Because I don't know that the 50,000 is even the right amount, because if we have 4 changes to family and we have to scramble to come up with the 50,000 plus additional monies, we may want to make that a larger amount. Or vice versa, if it's, nothing happens and it goes down and we have extra, then maybe that's not the right amount either.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think, we're budgeting very, very closely, very tightly, for this coming year. It's still a net reduction of $75,000 and change. So I'd be more comfortable having that as a pool, because those changes do happen, and they happen, they can happen frequently.
I'm comfortable doing it this one year and then making it a warrant article next year. If we see that we might not see a lot of change, we might see single teachers, but that's my take on it.
And again, I mean, that's gonna be 1 year's change, and what happens next year may not be representative of what happens in future years. There's always the element, that's the hard part with budgeting, as you guys say, forecasting something so far in advance, it's really difficult to do, but, I think trying this with that amount, having that cushion to be able to accommodate any changes that we have to accommodate, we don't have a choice. They are allowed to choose whatever benefits they want to choose. And then we'll be in a better position to decide on what a warrant article would look like.
We'll have history.
Yeah, that's my thought.
Okay. Do we have a motion
I made a motion.
and a second? Do we have a second?
Tina seconded.
All right. Further discussion?
My view is that it should be a warrant article. I think that the town would rally behind this one. I think it's tight to everyone's point. It's certainly tight. There are other accounts that are of similar nature out there that the town has done in this spirit. Not saying specifically for this reason, but certainly in spirit. And I think it makes sense to also do it for the school. So I'm not going to be in favor of voting for it to be added to the budget, but I would support having it be a separate warrant.
All right. We ready to vote? Andrew, roll call vote. No. Tina?
Yes.
Tara?
Yes.
Liz? Yes.
Heidi, yes.
410.
I too would support the warrant for next,
I do,
for the
yeah.
spring.
Just wanna have a little bit of data first.
I won't be here. Make sure it happens.
Well,
Won't be here for voting in the spring?
For the new budget.
No?
and the other piece may be, there's still, we'll hand this off to the budget committee tomorrow with that included, and then we'll see.
Yeah.
There's more process to occur here,
Sure.
so.
Right.
we'll just wait that out. So the next 4 items are all the final energy recommendations that Doug and I are comfortable bringing forward to the board, so.
I just renewed
Numbers
mine,
to it.
and this is right in line with what I renewed I was at 7 cents, and now I'm at 18 cents, which makes me a little nauseous, but I'm running around shutting off lights when I got home from work for the poor kids. I'm like, bam, bam, bam. That's what I did. And, because we started off very high, I think this is reasonable. Were you able to lock in that rate, Doug, with, like a direct energy or whatever?
Yeah, so the next two for electricity are locked-in rates. So
Excellent.
the board gave us permission to lock in rates around 17 cents. It climbed a little bit during that time, so we locked in at 17.368. So the propane is not locked in, but we have verbal that they would authorize 225, which is what we're currently paying, as well as they sent it to me in an email too, that they would extend the propane until May of 2024 as well for 225.
Great.
So electricity is signed contract. Propane, we would still have to sign that contract.
And to point out with the electricity that it was a 6-month extension, because remember, it was due to
Right,
end in
right, yeah.
December. So this will get us aligned with the fiscal year, so we're not gonna be looking at a mid-year shift, hopefully. And I'd love us to be going from July to June every year, and just knowing as we budget where we are, but.
So I'd like to make a motion to reduce the budget by $60,000 for GMS for the price of electricity, lowering the rate from 45 cents to the contracted rate of 17.368 cents for December 2023 to May 2024.
I'll second.
Discussion? All right. Andrew, We're gonna call, vote, roll call. Heidi?
Aye.
Oops. Sorry, I was just trying to amend the motion. I was on.
Oh. He's trying to amend.
I just heard men in motion and I don't know what that was.
Amend
Amend
a
a
motion.
motion. What motion's that, Andrew?
I'm sorry, yeah, so I'd like to amend the motion to reduce it by $130,000, which is encompassing of both GMS and CHS rate changes.
So it's the same amount, it's hitting two different budget lines, but it's the total electricity. So he's adding the 60,000 at GMS and the 70,000.
33.
130.
Is there any reason why they need to be separate?
Doug,
No. No reason.
Okay. Then
I'll second that.
yeah,
Second the amendment.
Thank you, Andrew.
you accept the friendly.
I accept the amendment.
I'll call a roll call vote. Andrew?
Aye.
Tina?
Aye.
Tara?
Aye.
Liz? Aye. Heidi?
Aye.
500.
Madam Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to reduce account 623 for both GMS and CHS by $39,475.
I'll second.
Discussion?
This is the change of price for propane at both GMS and CHS at the contracted rate of $2.25 a gallon.
Yeah, excellent. I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote. Andrew?
Aye.
Tina?
Aye.
Tara?
Aye.
Liz? Aye. Heidi?
Aye.
500.
So my
Madam
question,
Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to add $94,878 to the budget.
Second.
for what?
I'm sorry, give the amount again, 94.
94,878.
For what purpose? I think I know, but
I'm sorry, was it seconded? I didn't hear it.
Yeah, I seconded it, Andrew.
All right, awesome. Yeah, so that is for the music teacher. Unfortunately, I was not able to make our last meeting and didn't share my thoughts, but I'd like to have the opportunity to have that and be supportive of that position. In my view, the board is prioritizing vacant positions over a staffed position dedicated to our kids presently through this reduction, and it just doesn't, it feels backwards to me. It feels we have $142,000 in vacant positions that I motioned to reduce back on November 3rd. That failed, and we're prioritizing the removal of a music teacher over the vacant positions, which just doesn't seem right to me.
so if I can briefly respond to that, as I was one of the votes that supported that cut reluctantly, I'm not sure it's fair to pit the vacant positions against the music teacher position, just as I don't think it's fair to pit music against sports. Those are two completely separate votes. Those paraprofessional vacant positions are critical to the running of our school district, and it is the goal to absolutely fill those positions. Just because there are not applicants right now, that is a statewide, countrywide problem, and those positions need to be there to be able to be filled should qualified applicants come in. So I disagree with comparing the two. I am, however, supportive of the motion of adding the music teacher back in, given the fact that there are significant savings that I added up to be $294,928 when I added up all of the savings that we just did, and including in the $50,000 increase. That still results in a huge savings from where we were before. And I think we can support having that extra teacher in for another year to continue to build the music program. I want to be clear, this isn't a guarantee that that position would be there for future years, because there have been statements from people that we have made promises to rebuild the program and gone back on those promises. I am not making that promise today. I'm saying, as the budget sits here right now today, looking at it and with the numbers that we have, we do not have to cut that teacher position. We do not have to do that at this point, compared to having that 5% increase of our budget that we didn't really have a whole lot of control over, given that a lot of those increases were contractually based on transportation, the two contracts, and electricity and gas, and they were out of our control. Now that those costs have been reined in and are more accurate and we have more savings, I would fully support keeping this music teacher in.
And just for point of clarification, if I may, the 142,000 in vacant positions was not including any paraprofessionals.
Was not what?
Including paraprofessionals.
What positions were they, Andrew?
Custodian, speech, a PE part-time teacher, and a math tutor.
So I still,
All sent to us on November 2nd.
okay. I still view those as critical positions. So my comments still stand. I'll just amend it to say not just paraprofessionals, but speech and part-time PE, custodian especially. If anything, I think over the last 3 years, we've learned to appreciate how much we need custodians in our schools.
How many are we short?
Today, I'm not sure. As you know, it's been one of those moving targets, but we were down several positions across the district, so it's tight.
At least two?
Well, at the high school, there should be 4 on the second shift. It's a huge building.
Yeah.
And there were only 2 for a good chunk of time. I'm not sure if we've added one. But we're not back to fully staffed.
But back to the point, I am supportive of adding back in the music position, given the level of cuts that we just approved.
Yep, as I mentioned last week, I'm in full support of keeping that position. I see the impact that it has on the students, and it is an area that I don't think we can afford to cut.
I just would like to revisit the enrollment question and why it was originally brought up that enrollment is going down in our schools. And the right size for our school compared to other schools we've seen and heard about is 1 teacher at each school. And I don't disagree that the program, there's new life in certain areas being infused into the program. Absolutely.
Yep, I will not advocate for a reduction until the structure of music department has changed, and so that kids have opportunities throughout elementary, middle school, and high school to take music classes.
Do they have to take music classes?
No?
A half a credit is required for music for graduation. And actually, it's not just music, it's performing arts and
dancing,
you can do like Mrs. Freeman's classes too.
Right.
Thank
So,
you.
Yeah,
yes,
that's what-
arts are included, so you can take fine art, visual arts, or you
Thank
can
you.
take performing
Yes.
arts classes. I'm not talking about the high school in particular, I'm talking about the middle school, where we had a situation where students were exposed to music for a quarter in 5th grade and then did not have any other music education until they opted in 9th grade. My
I
kids
feel
were-
like that was a scheduling issue.
Absolutely, and that's what I'm saying. I don't advocate for a cut until we figure out the scheduling.
Yeah,
you figured
there-
out the
that's what I
opportunities
was,
for
that's what I was
more
talking about last time. There was
teachers.
a structural issue with how, you know, and I don't, you know, there were really valid comments last time about music theory. Well, how come we're not even offering a music theory class?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also good points, I think, about the music department
There were only 2 classes
really
over 25.
strategizing how many classes they're offering kids to sign up for. So the
Absolutely.
classes that are offered are
I
filled
agree
in better.
100%. I'm just saying,
Madam Chairman, may I call a question, please?
thank you.
Okay, roll call vote. Andrew?
Aye.
Tara? Tina?
Aye.
Tara?
I'm gonna say no.
Liz? No. Heidi?
Aye.
It's nothing personal against the music department.
I-
There were only 2 classes over 25, and we need to hire a new full-time teacher for 2 classes over 25, is where I have the issue. Next year, I guarantee we'll need another teacher, because those kids will be coming up from GMS. But that's just my thought. Okay, I'm done.
So I'm sure Doug has that. Doug, adding that back in, where does it land us with the budget increase? We were at 4.03 before we added 95. Do you get a sense of that?
Yeah, I can.
I would also like to ask about gas. Hold it, where is it?
Gas for what?
Gas for the schools.
4,396,484.
Yeah, that's the number I got as well.
Can you repeat that, please?
And so what percent, I'm sorry, can you repeat the number 25,
24,
24,
396,
396,
484,
484, which is what percent increase?
which is, it's gonna be about a 4.3% increase, approximately.
Still beneath 5.
Doug, are you updating this as well, so we can all
4.4
see
maybe?
it?
Yeah, it's in that
Where is it
range.
being updated?
Okay, so 4.4%
They both
increase.
got the same number, which is always a good thing.
I know, but Doug had a tracker. Which document was that called, Doug?
It's,
It's tab.
So we
It's
can all
the
see.
tab on the health document one. So the fiscal year 24 health and dental budgeting, there's a tab at the bottom of that.
Okay, thank you.
Hey Doug, may I ask a question?
Yeah,
So back on November 3rd, right, we went through our motions and reductions, et cetera, before we handed over the budget to the budget committee, and we landed and voted on a number of 24,469,542 on November 3rd. How do I reconcile back on that spreadsheet to that vote?
24.4.
24,469,542 on November 3rd was the vote that the board voted in favor of.
So, yeah, I thought Doug was gonna be putting together a document, a spreadsheet that had, that's the one?
so this is a tab on that health insurance sheet.
So,
Is that the school board motions and
Yep.
possible motions?
Yes.
Okay.
And, you know, when I look
Sorry,
at it,
this came through at 4 o'clock. I did not have a chance to
No,
look it
yeah.
over before I came here.
So Andrew,
Fine.
the amount that's on the spreadsheet from Doug is 24,471,742, which sounds very close to the number you just read, but off by
$3,000.
$3,000. So there must have been something there. Because it looks like November 3rd, line 8 is where we ended on November 3rd, and then the other changes came November 16th.
so I'm pretty sure it was a 24,471,742.
Yes.
I don't know if it got combined, because this is general fund, Fund 10.
Yeah.
And then we had some motions that occurred for food service as well,
Yeah,
which don't equal the 3,000, but they were part of that night also.
right. And those are on the bottom.
Those are on the bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, it's close, I'm just trying to reconcile back to that board vote, that's all.
If you scroll down further in that sheet, Doug, it has the food service,
Yep,
changes, which are, I can't click on it, but you're at $2,200, so that's, again, getting you closer to the difference that we're trying to find here.
do we know how much the difference is exactly?
I can't. click in
Andrew,
the
what was your
spreadsheet.
number?
It's 696, 649 minus 694, 449.
Can Andrew say the
So it's
number again?
2,200.
24, it was 24, the board vote was 24,469,542. And it's 24,471,740.
That's
That's what it is.
$2,200.
It's the
That's
$2,200
the food service.
in food service. So you are adding that in, Andrew, and Doug is doing just the general fund,
Just the fund.
not including the food service fund.
Got it, because it's down below.
So we're actually
Exactly correct.
Yes.
The numbers match. Hallelujah.
So are we looking for a bottom line vote then, tonight of 24,396,484?
If you want
Yes.
to do a bottom line vote, that's fine. Otherwise,
I
you've
would-
authorized these.
I just had a
Harvey?
question about, oil, actually. That was the question.
Oil.
Right? Do we have,
That's
It
not,
was
450 is what they were paying.
right, and there was a question about could we go back and get a better price for that or use a different estimated number? And I just was wondering if there was any discussion about that or if we are
If that's
just
a
gonna use the
reasonable
same
price.
number.
Doug, can you update us on where you landed with oil pricing? Because you're not recommending a cut in oil.
Right.
So I called Burke Oil, and at first they said, no, we can't do that. But then I called back again today because I got the no, and there's no offense to the person, but I got the no from the first person. And usually when I've been talking about extending rates, it's usually a manager that I talk with. So I called back today and I left a voicemail for our account person today, and I haven't heard back from them yet. So I got a no from the first line, but I want to kind of double check that with a manager.
Okay.
So
Okay, thank you.
I don't have oil, I don't know what the going rate is. But it's
I
more
got mine
than,
in August, so I don't
you have
know.
oil? How much?
More than 450.
Yeah, I thought it was higher
It's
than
over
that.
450? All right.
I think it was 520 the other day when I was.
We just got both refilled, propane and oil, and they were each over $1,000 each.
All right, so are we doing a
right.
bottom line, or are we gonna wait until, or do we
I'd
not
like
need
to
to?
do a bottom line. I'll make a motion to vote on 24,396,484 as our bottom line budget.
I'll second.
Yep.
Further discussion? I think we'll be fine with the 450 number.
Until we get more information.
Yeah.
Until we get more information, correct. All right, I'm gonna have a roll call vote. Andrew?
Aye.
Tina?
Aye.
Tara?
Aye.
Liz? Aye. Heidi?
Aye.
We just voted on the bottom line budget.
Yep.
Excellent.
I did wanna just.
Scary to leave and come back. to
I
oil.
know! I was like, we gotta summarize that for him.
I did want to briefly, before we move on to the next topic, make sure that we address the two questions that were asked earlier by Mr. Plansky during his comments, which was we talking about savings related to the vacant paraprofessionals, and can that be used to replenish any of the trust funds? And my thought for an answer, but somebody can certainly correct me, would be that this is for the what we're planning for is the FY '24 budget, which would not be related to any vacant positions. That's the current budget. So what we're planning for in the health insurance savings is gonna be next year. That's what we just talked about, but the hope would be, we'll see where we're at the end of the year, and if there is the availability to move some funds, we can talk about doing that.
So to replenish the trust funds is a vote, a separate warrant article vote, so.
Yep.
We're still developing the draft warrant. You'll see it. Actually, we're gonna have to vote on it on the 7th to get it to the budget committee on the
I think it should be a
15th.
priority to return those funds.
Yeah, I
It
just
is.
agreed.
So you can expect, and I've asked Gordon to work with us on a couple of other possible scenarios. So yes, we are working to do that.
But I want to be clear, I do not support asking the taxpayers to
No.
replenish those
Absolutely
funds.
not.
This would be from any underspend we have in our current budget year.
So we're not gonna propose raising additional funds, but you still are
Right.
asking the taxpayers, because
Yeah.
if you don't return fund balance, the taxpayers are
Understood.
funding it. So,
But
yeah,
there's a
yeah.
difference to me than asking them to pay $250,000 on a warrant
Yep.
out of their pockets,
Over and above.
above
Yeah.
and beyond what they've already been.
Agreed. However, didn't we also put in the capital plan to raise an appropriate $125,000 each year for the capital,
Right.
capital?
But that
Yes.
was,
We did, but I view that differently because that's been part of the capital plan
Yes.
for
Yes.
years,
I just wanna,
regardless of
I
what
wanna make sure
happens.
people understand the difference between those,
Correct.
though.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I think it's important
Yeah.
that they understand that. Yeah. I think it's important we understand it, frankly. Okay.
Okay,
We're good with the budget then?
all right. Discuss meeting location.
So, after the, hang on a second, I don't know where my agenda went, I must have closed it. So, after the meeting that both Ms. Ames and Ms. McDonald went to, where a select board member publicly stated that, information from non-public sessions that we had was known by people, and the question that was asked was, well, how is it known? And the answer was, because you can hear out in the lobby of this building. That led to a lot of conversation. I mean, I've had several conversations with a lot of different people about concerns with the confidentiality of the information that's being discussed in non-public. People have come to me to say, you can stand outside that window right now and you wouldn't even know there was somebody listening in on a window. We don't know how secure that door. I'm like, I've never even had, this wasn't even in my imagination as a conversation until those statements were publicly made to us about what occurred in a non-public that we were in. So, and I've had several people say, you need to get out of town hall. You need to have a better place to meet. And so I said, well, that's not my decision at all, but I'll certainly bring it forward to the board for conversation. And I don't know that we need to make a decision this evening on it. I think there are things that we could talk about from a security angle, in terms of the way we want to operate. But to me, it was an incredibly eye-opening, and a lot of people found it very disturbing that that's what was said to us. And so I felt it was important that we begin the dialogue about where to be. Now, I put on the agenda, the problem is the fire station is in use on Wednesdays. So to keep the same meeting schedule and just moving location would not work. And from Litchfield TV point of view, we no longer have, remember, we used to meet at Campbell High School. We moved here because this room is set up to broadcast. The only other room really set up to broadcast is the fire community room. So going back to Campbell would be a burden on Litchfield TV. We don't even want to talk about that in my view. But I do think the question could be, you see the availability, or you see the lack of availability on Wednesdays and I think Tuesdays. But there are other times where the board could easily move its meeting if they so choose, or just engage back in dialogue about this room. So it's really opening the topic for discussion among the board.
I liked the firehouse meeting room. I thought it was nice because all 5 board members got to sit right at the table in line. I just thought the setup was good, and you guys were talking at us, and anybody who was presenting was talking to us. The seats are more comfortable.
The TVs were great
The
too.
TVs
There's
are much
3
better.
There's one behind and 2 on the side, so it was much easier to see presentations and or remote folks.
It needs to be recorded, no matter where we are.
Absolutely.
And we have to, Wednesday is when we have a person to do that.
Yeah.
And the downside of the firehouse is that you can hear the audience more than,
True.
I know that was a concern with cable.
I have no preference really. I mean, I will come and meet wherever we decide to meet. I am just very disappointed that that is even a concern. That, somebody could hear what we say in non-public. It's just disappointing that, I don't know.
Mr. Brunel, do you have availability or comments on this? I didn't recognize you with your little beard thing.
I'm sorry. One of my youngest grandchild won't come near me without the beard. It's a funny story. So anyway, to address the noise, the audio getting outside of the sound does carry a little bit, but you really have to pay attention. You have to be sitting there doing it. One thing we can do, and I think it's something we should do anyway, is there's a camera out there. We potentially can just do a little monitor right there so you can see who's in the lobby. They'll tell you if there's anybody out there or not. That's a small investment. that would do that to solve that problem. Leaving this building and going to the fire station, although we've set that building up to do overflow recording and stuff, and it still requires to set it up, it's not always that convenient. The noise, that room is smaller, so the noise does get, the audience, like you said, is a little louder. We actually hear them on the video a lot more. We've got to tone it down a lot. So we could do that. If the door is closed, like I said, they have to really listen.
I like the idea of a monitor, because by the time we're in non-public, it's usually like 10 o'clock. We don't want to be here.
Right.
And there's, yeah, and I go to the bathroom enough that I see who's in and out of there.
Right.
Well, what about a simple solution like a noise?
I have no noise at home.
You just turn the noise thing on, you know, a
So you
white
could-
noise.
You could do that outside, right? That's one way to do
I'll
it
bring
too.
one next time if you want.
Just holiday music in the lobby would.
Yeah, one of the
Exactly.
things, the fire,
Elevator music.
the fire station actually has a noise suppressor in all the ceiling tiles. So we actually have an active canceller, so you can't hear other rooms. If I turn it off, you'll hear everything. Like if you listen, you'll hear the radio sometimes it's about really low. If I turn that off, you'll hear it very loud. So from an LCD perspective, this is the preferred room. I know the other room has some technology in it that you liked. We are planning on putting another screen as a presenter screen. We're trying to figure out how to mount it because it's high ceilings. We've got to figure that out. We also want to relocate this so it's a little more convenient to see. And, we have the WebEx capabilities here. Listening to the meeting with remotes today as a side note, I like to take your meeting into there versus your laptop. That's why they can't hear you and you can't hear them that good. We can kind of deal with that. So we would prefer you to stay here.
I like the monitor idea. I think that would solve a lot of problems.
That'll address it for all because the
Well,
Board of
it's for
Selectmen has made that,
safety,
the
too.
Board of Selectmen has commented about that too, that, obviously was said in an open meeting too. I think that's one way, even if we just mount it up there where you can see who's out in the hallway. Right, that's one way. If you want to do an active noise canceller outside, you can always bring one in, I suppose, but I'm not sure that's such a high ceiling, I'm not sure that's gonna work very well.
Those put me to sleep.
Yeah, it'll put you to sleep, so.
Crackling
I mean,
fire.
LCT will accommodate where we can, right? If you prefer over there, we can definitely do that. With regards to the heat, yes, we didn't have control of the heat. We have control of the heat now. So if we are running a meeting over there, we'll turn the heat up. Obviously, we're trying to conserve energy over there. That room's not used all that often during the nighttime. It's only used during the daytime, so the sun usually heats that room pretty well. So that's all I have for input.
Thank you for your input.
Do you have, just before you go, thoughts on the outside windows? Because again, somebody had mentioned, like summertime, we'll have the windows open, or not so much summer, because then we're on AC, but in the
Fall,
shoulder
spring.
seasons, we'll pop the windows open, and they're like, people could be standing, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not even
No,
thinking about it from a security angle,
I
but
would hope the police would notice
So they
someone
would. So
lurking
there are-
outside the
There's no-
police.
Yeah,
it's pitch dark out there. You would not know if somebody was standing outside that
Oh, no,
glass, right?
Yeah.
It's true,
Creepy.
it's true.
so, not that I want to publish it, but there are cameras around the building, so we do see people walking around the building. When the PD is here, they're actually watching the exterior of the building. So, I've never seen anybody outside in the back while we're having a meeting, so.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I like I said, then if you go out there and not close the door and we talk, you can hear us talking. Whether you can make it out, you're really paying attention. If you're loud and animated, they're gonna hear you. That noise is carried. I think the one meeting you maybe loudly said something, the PD thought there was something going on, they were gonna come out here and help you. So they do hear that kind of
Using
thing.
my teacher voice. Would you like us to supply the monitor, or do you have monitors?
No,
Is that
I have a
something?
little TV. I have to figure out how to get it up there and do that. We'll figure that out.
There's already a hole in the wall.
Yeah, I'm looking
Yeah,
at
no,
it.
Oh, perfect.
Something
Yeah.
was there, I don't know
No,
what.
that was where there was an old retired camera, so.
Okay.
I'm just saying, I'm willing to do that, because we have the equipment to do it, if it leaves the concern about someone out there actively listening. Your meetings start at 3:00 in the afternoon, or 3:30, 4 o'clock, whatever time they are. The lobby is busy. There are residents out there.
We start at 5:30.
So it's 5,
5:30,
okay,
yep.
yeah.
Well, so.
Well, capital improvement.
Capital improvement, but there's not a non-public to that. So really, we're talking, our non-public sessions, at the current rate, we're in them at 9 o'clock.
Early.
But we're not the only group that does go into non-public, so I think it is a
Right.
bigger question of the security of this room and confidentiality of this room.
I'm happy with John's response. How about anyone else?
That makes sense to me.
I still would like to explore maybe a noise machine that we can bring in and put outside the door,
I have one.
would be my thought.
It's a real one.
you see them all the time when you know, at doctor's offices
Right.
and whatnot, that they have them just outside the door and, you know, again, I would like to think that this isn't gonna be a problem again, and I would like to hope that, that we would have townspeople that would respect, non-public conversations that are not meant to be listened to. But we also have, now that we know that it is, we have actually been told it's a problem, I think we have a duty to act on it, to protect any of the employees that we talk about and have conversations about in those non-public that deserve to have that privacy, so.
Anything else, Dr. Jenny?
Nope, so we will, I believe we're meeting tomorrow, right? On agenda prep. This will be the first agenda that we put out using new procedures, so bear with us. And I just want the board to know, I'll be talking with the chair and vice chair about the agenda in general, and the length of our agenda and the format of the agenda, and just looking to possibly bring some changes, but I'll work with the chair and vice chair on thoughts relative to that. So bear with us. We may go too far one way and have to correct back again. I don't know.
Well,
but
Michelle's been doing this for so many years, you can figure out how to change it, streamline it to whoever works the best for whoever's performing the duty now.
But I just ask the board to bear with us if it looks different, or if the format is different. We're trying to really help the board conduct its business as efficiently as possible, and
I would say bear with us importantly,
Yeah.
but also provide feedback. I mean, I think, you know, again, it's a team effort at this point, and
absolutely.
every board member, if there's something that they want to see on there or something that they don't want to see on there, let us know. Let's have that conversation, because I am all in favor of making these meetings more
Shorter.
efficient.
Oh my God, yes.
Shorter, faster.
And counter to that, I actually, this won't be very long though. I wanted to add a quick thing to the agenda, which is the supplemental audit RFP, if I can add that.
You're adding to this agenda? I have it
To
on.
this agenda, only because I was able to check in with Andrew, who all four of us looked at my draft of the compiled comments of everybody at the last meeting, and so I checked in with Andrew, and he said he was good for it to go as well. So I just wanted to just see if we can get approval on it to get it out, get it out the door. I had to revise the timeline a little bit. Like, I would like to, if we can, vote for it today. And then the timeline that I have, actually, I don't know if I'll have the document. I can share it. Do you want me to share it with you again?
I have it.
Is it the same document?
It's the same
Maybe in
document.
that drive.
So I just put some things in red, so I had to back up a couple of the deadlines because I thought we were gonna try to do it last time, which we did, but, so really the RFP response deadline, I'm hoping will be the end of the year. So if we can get it approved tonight, then we can start getting it out, the rest of this week. And you see my other timelines there. So board review and vote on the selected proposal, like our first meeting in January. We will have received them a few days prior. We can make sure that we get them to everybody to read over in advance of the meeting. And then by the 6th, we'll have made a decision and we can select the person who we have decided on, and then hoping work can commence on the special audit by January 9th, with preliminary findings on March 8th. Just looking for kind of, here's what we're finding right now, 2 months in, and then a written report after tax season in June. And then I also added, and actually, Andrew, I'm not sure if you saw this, but I after you approved it, we do need some points of contact for the school board for this document, and I was wondering if, Andrew wanted to be the point of contact with me, and you guys can decide who you want, or one person, two person, I don't know, it's up to you guys, so. I would assist, but I'm not sure I would be the only.
I'd recommend just putting the school board email address.
And we are all
That way we all see
contacted
it.
at the same time.
That's a good thought.
Oh,
like that.
okay.
I like that.
So, well, we're gonna have to just figure out how to manage questions. There's gonna be questions too. So we can tackle that as we get them, I
You
guess.
do one of your handy dandy spreadsheets.
That's right. Okay.
I do want to thank you, Tara, for putting this together.
Absolutely.
It was
Sure.
a lot of work and really appreciate it.
Oh,
It looked really good. And
Well,
I'm in favor
you
of it.
two going to the select board meeting allowed, and the fact that I didn't have to go to that gave me the time to do this, so thank you. So I did also add some information about distribution, where this should go on our website. I'm not sure wherever else we normally put RFPs. Are there other places that?
You have a couple of options. You can direct solicit and
Yes.
send those out. You can.
I have that as part of this, so I thought
Post it in
our
there.
current
Yep.
auditor, Plosnick and Sanderson, and then I happen to know somebody at Melanson Heath as well, so if anybody knows anything, are there any other places that we normally put that? So, all right, I'm gonna finalize this. I'll create a PDF. I'll send it out to everybody. If anybody else knows auditors or companies, maybe you just send me a note who you've sent it to so that we're not duplicating, or send it to
Sounds
the
good.
board.
Great.
And then who should I send it to put it on the website?
I'm trying to, probably,
Or do you want me to send it to you?
I'm gonna say
and-
to Doug, because it
To
should be
Doug.
on the business side of it, I believe. I think that's where we posted it before.
Okay.
And I'm saying that, I'm not sure
All right.
if Doug's been trained on how to post, but Holly and
Okay.
I have.
He can
Barbara
facilitate it,
has,
though.
So we can figure that out.
Okay. All right, sounds good. Do we need to vote on this?
Well,
There's
I
no
just-
dollar amount at this point. It's,
Yeah, I mean, it's totally up to the board what you want to do. I would
Yeah.
just point out, you had an agenda tonight that didn't include this.
yeah,
Nobody in the public would know that you're taking this action tonight because it wasn't
sure,
noticed by that.
yeah,
I have it on the 7th
yeah.
anyway, which is
We
only,
did discuss it at the last meeting, though, too.
which is a week out.
Yeah.
But, the
But I
board,
didn't know to review that document until
Sure.
tonight. So I
Okay.
would prefer to hold off just so I can take some time with it.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't able to.
Oh, so you
my-
want to hold off until December 7th and then readjust? Okay, so the deadlines
Just
will
because my
change.
computer died and I can't access it right
All right. All right, that's fine.
Okay, thank you, Tara.
Sounds good.
I do appreciate all
Okay,
the
that's
work
all
that
right.
went into it.
No, that's fine. All right.
Okay.
Maybe I'll have a final draft for you then to look at. Okay, thank you.
All right, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I second. Roll call vote. Andrew?
Aye.
Tina?
Aye.
Tara?
Aye.
Liz, aye.
Heidi.
Heidi, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye, aye.
Have a good night,
Thank
everybody.
you. See you on the
Thank you.
7th.
If only we could get out at